Apex theme, engage.
In today's episode, Mark, we're talking about the fastest way to become a high-value man. MMA fighter Jake Shields offers a challenge to trans fighters everywhere. And also, I don't know if you've heard, but there's a new Brian Johnson in town, and he is set on issuing in a new wave of biohacking through his Project Blueprint. And we'll also be talking about, can the trad trend save our currently downward spiraling culture?
Interesting. Welcome. You're not just here for the intro music. You're here for the Man vs. World show. I am your host, Mark Weapon, and I'm joined by Pete. Pete, what's going on in your world, brother?
Not too much, although I'll be back in Cali in a few weeks, so the background's about to change again. But I won't be in a car this time, so.
No? Okay. You're going to have I thought you just like travel with that little cubicle with you everywhere. It's just kind of like just like a little mobile home. As far as I know, that's what you like. You just live in that corner.
It's the only time you see me, really. So,
Yep. So I am. What have I been getting into lately? Lately, I'm getting back into music, which is exciting. I've taken like a long break from making music. I don't know if you guys remember. I used to have like synths and guitars and stuff in the background, but lately I've just been getting that itch to play again. So I'm in the process. Like, I don't really have the room in this office to really set up here. So I've just was cleaning out my basement, trying to figure out, how I'm going to organize the synths and the guitars and everything like that. So that's always fun. What I noticed was like, man, like sometimes it feels nice to just do some manual labor, which probably sounds like ridiculous to anyone who has like a manual labor job.
Yeah.
Pretty much like all of my work is like thinking really hard to create something, or like thinking really hard to like make decisions, or like making like stupid low level decisions, like clearing email and stuff like that. And so it's like sometimes it's nice to just be able to turn the mind off and have like a task in front of me and just be able to like move things with my body. It's the simple pleasures in life. Would I want to do that all day? No, probably not. But it is nice to break things up that way.
it is.
Yeah. So it sounds like we got some cool stuff here today. I'm gonna ditch the people have called me out in the comments for like pretending like I don't know what's coming up when I obviously do. But I only just learn it. Like basically the way we do this show is Pete comes to me, he's like, "Here, I got all this stuff." I'm like, "Okay, sounds good." Or, "Hey, that's a dumb idea, Pete. How dare you bring that to the table? We're not doing that." And that's all we have for it. So we do have some interesting things to check out today. The first one, Pete, what do we got?
So first of all, I want to talk about this clip here from the YouTuber Destiny on why he thinks that the trad movement will fail to save our current culture. Let's go ahead and check it out.
This is what frustrates me so much, is that progressive are obviously lost.
Wait a second. This guy, I think, was just recently, like, I saw Andrew Tate, like, roasting this dude because apparently he's like some like gamer streamer or something, and like he cucks his wife or something.
Oh,
or
really?
At least that's what the comments said. And Andrew Tate made fun of him for having blue hair and being like a sub-masculine sort of character or whatever. But anyway, that's completely disconnected from the point here. So let's see what they're actually talking about. Here, I'll restart it.
This is what frustrates me so much, is that progressive are obviously lost, but then like conservatives or some of the trad people are like, okay, we're gonna go back to being trad. No, you're not.
Also, pause. I don't know if that's actually true what I said about him cucking his wife. The clip he showed was him having his wife dance in the background with another man, and then people in the comments were saying that like as long as she is sleeping with, as long as they both have someone to have a person to sleep with, they can cheat on each other, or not cheat, I guess, whatever the rules are. Again, I don't know if it's true. Internet comments, don't sue me if it's not true. Okay. But anyway, he's saying,
but then like conservatives or some of the trad people are like, okay, we're gonna go back to being trad. No, you're not. We're never getting rid of abortion. We're never getting rid of birth control. Women are working in ways that they never have before, and they have so much control over reproduction that the world is fundamentally changed.
Yeah.
And whatever we go forward with in the world, it has to take into account those two realities. So anybody that's walking out here expecting that men can get women with paychecks or by being alpha, everything you're saying doesn't matter anymore. You're talking about a world that doesn't exist anymore. And anybody.
Wait, he's saying that like having money and being alpha doesn't get you women?
Apparently.
That sound like what I said? Okay.
That's talking about like very traditional roles in terms of like who's earning more money in the household or whatever, you're probably not relevant anymore. So we have to carve out some world in the future where we have some idea of a masculine or male archetype that's compatible with the fact that your wife might be earning or even out earning you.
Okay. Well, he does have some good points for sure. Like birth control has completely changed the game. Modern rights and culture and stuff has completely changed the game in terms of sexual dynamics. There are a lot of women who are out earning a lot of men, and so that is a reality of things. But I mean, I gotta take issue with at least some of the stuff that he's saying here, which is I think women are always going to be attracted to a man who makes more money than them, and they're also going to be attracted to masculine traits. So I think I don't know where he's getting that impression that women aren't into that thing anymore. In my life, from what I've seen, is that women are actually starving for that more and more. Now, they're not like necessarily looking for the, speaking of Andrew Tate, like the caricature of like masculine dominance. There's a lot of women who find that rather distasteful in some ways, or in a lot of ways, but they definitely would prefer that the man has at least some semblance of what you could call maybe traditional masculine strength and leadership and that sort of thing. But on to the bigger point that the trad movement's going to fail, I think I probably have to agree with him. I think there'll definitely be there'll always be a pocket that will want to go back to times in the past. There will always be a regressive element to society. And there's a lot that the trad movement offers, but the problem is that a lot of what it offers is, it takes a lot of finagling to make work, particularly in the modern day. So the trad system of like woman stays at home, man goes to work, that whole thing, that was much more reliable when that's how everyone did things. And it wasn't so hard to support a family on a single income, that men were raised this way, that there is a lot more initiation into masculinity, that there was a lot more community support in becoming a provider. And there's also a lot more community support around women, like training them for this role, conditioning them for this role, and then supporting them. There's like childcare is not an easy thing. Okay. And I think in the past it was, I don't think it was the most common thing for one woman to take care of all the kids. It certainly happened, in a lot of circumstances, but I think in general it was like more of a collective of women who were taking care of the children. It was like, the wife, the wife's mother, the other like women in the village would get together and, have their kids hang out together and run around and that sort of thing. Doing it all by yourself is rough, and you got to be built for that sort of thing. Not every woman is built for that or wants that. And so it's like, I think the general idea like of the trad movement is appealing to a lot of guys, particularly to a lot of guys who are not thriving in the current system. And I think it's also appealing to a subset of women who don't want to have careers, and they don't, and they really like the idea of raising the kids. But I don't think that really captures a lot of the modern woman's heart. And that's really who you got to sell this idea to. Of course there are some, like I said, but I think in general, a lot of women, they just see that as kind of like a sort of shitty deal. And so, what is the answer to this? I'm not really sure. The best thing that I can come up with is like, kind of like taking the traditional ideals, but they do need to be updated. in some way. You can't just go backward. You can't just pretend like things are, the 1950s, okay? Because they're not anymore. It's a different game today. And he's right when he says that. The birth control stuff, the way society has shifted, these are major things and they have to be accounted for. Now, do I think that means that the way things should be is like open marriages and, wild shit like that? No, I don't think so. I think a lot of what's going to need to happen is monogamy, frankly. I think monogamy is going to have to become sexy again. And maybe it's like as a mass movement, these things might be doomed to fail, but I guess where I'm at and where I'm trying to make my change is like on the people who like really want to see something different, right? And I think it's got to start with men, because men are the ones that have to sell the picture to women. It's like the average trad enthusiast male, he's still addicted to porn. How many women want to sign up for the trad situation in the first place? Middling amount to low amount. All right. And then you take that and you say, okay, you're going to be a trad wife, but your husband also is still jerking off to porn. Okay. Like the numbers who are interested in that go down even more, to almost none, I would say. Like if a woman values her sexuality enough to like live a traditional marriage, she's definitely not going to want to do that in a marriage where the man has like zero sexual self-control, right? She's just going to be then like this, side piece to the man's internet fantasies. And so like the bigger thing I think the bigger conversation has to be about like, what is our sexuality for? It's not so much like what's like the what kind of relationship, the relationship dynamics, that's a secondary conversation after like what's sexuality for? What is your sexuality for? How do you want to express your sexuality and that sort of thing? And so, I'm very much this idea that sex is meant for, a man and his wife. That's the quote unquote safest way to express your sexuality, in a committed marriage and a committed, I would say, spiritual marriage, one where it goes beyond just, a legally binding contract, because, there's a lot of problems with that, as, we'll get to in, I guess, Rollo Tomasi's post from the Rational Mail here in a little bit. But it's got to be something where you believe you're tapping into something bigger. You have to believe that you're entering into a relationship with this person that transcends your personal preferences. And it's like, all right, I'm going to restrict my sexual activity to only you. And then you're going to do the same thing. And the reason we do this is because we want to make something so incredibly special and meaningful that it's worth all of this hardship. And I think that a healthy, functioning nuclear family is that. It is a beautiful thing. It is worth all of that effort. It is worth all of that sacrifice. But we have to learn how to control ourselves, right? And this is not an easy thing when every single guy is walking around with basically a virtual whorehouse in his pocket. It's a hard process to undergo, to really take this seriously. I was writing some copy for a program a little while ago, and one of the things that kind of hit me was like, to help people understand how hard it is for the guy who's already hooked on porn and masturbation or whatever to get clean. It's similar to like getting clean in the modern age. It's similar to like a cocaine addict trying to get clean when anytime he watches TV or gets on the computer or gets on his cell phone or even walks down the street, people are blowing little puffs of cocaine in his face. Like every time he's looking at a computer screen and he scrolls past someone attractive, it's like the computer screen just releases a little puff of cocaine in his face. Or like you see an attractive person, you walk by them, it's like poof, a little puff of cocaine. It's like, that's what it's like to try and really master your sexuality in this modern world. It's incredibly difficult. And to make it even more complex is that every guy has this like little drug dealer in his pocket, and then he just has to lazily wiggle his thumbs at in order to get an infinite supply of free cocaine, aka porn. And so it's not a trivial task. And frankly, I think we need to really upgrade the way in which we interact with ourselves and the way in which we like our like self-control, willpower, self-mastery systems. They need to be upgraded to be able to surpass this modern environment of vice and excess that we all float around in today. And that's what I'm working on. I've got a new program that's going to be coming out here soon in a pilot version where I'm taking these concepts to the next level. So stay tuned for that. But so I can't give you my full solution right now, but it's got to be something different. It can't just be going backward. And so, it's a tough thing, but challenging situations breed unique opportunities. And if you're willing to be one of these unique men, then I think that the opportunities in front of you to create the kind of life that you want, they're pretty much unlimited. So that's my thoughts on that.
Yeah, in addition to the free unlimited access to sexual stimulation that's out there, a lot of red pill and probably MGTOW guys would point to the fact that in addition to this, you also have on the other side, the real authentic relationships seem to be dwindling away. And there's this article by the New York Post here on this 36-year-old woman who on dating sites is recommending, or actually making it a requirement to submit a 500-word essay if men want to date her. She says she's feeling or this is what New York Post has to say, feeling fed up with online dating. Kempton revealed a dating strategy last year that resurfaced recently. Asking for an essay is definitely a good way of weeding out what you don't want, she said. On the 36-year-old's Hinge account, she made it clear that if they wanted to have a chance with her, they must submit an application explaining how you will not waste any time. It shows you who they are, and they have read your profile and understand your humor, she quipped. So what are your thoughts on this? Is it, in an imaginary world where you're a single guy, Mark, is this a red flag or a green flag, in your opinion?
Well, I think that what she's doing is she's actually filtering her, like the guys who are coming after her, in a way that probably will work against her. I can't say for certain, but here's my take on it. All right, it says here she's 36 years old. Okay, so she's getting up there in terms of like childbearing age, and I assume that the reason why she's doing this is because she wants to settle down, she wants to have kids, and it doesn't. I don't think it says this, but that's my assumption. Okay, that's the way things typically go for women at that age. And so what she's doing by saying, hey, you have to write me a 500-word essay, what she's doing is she's positioning herself as the prize. And so that means that like, oh, these guys need to compete for her. The problem with that is that the guys who are willing to compete for her are not the guys that she would want to compete for. And so what that means is that because like women, that's what hypergamy is that they want to move up. They want the man that they get with to be of a, at least equal, but usually higher social standing than she herself has. And so why would a higher status man than her compete for her? I don't think he would. I think he would look at this and just go next. And, likely either aim for someone younger or he's old himself. And so, she has to figure out if that's something that she really wants. And so like women with their high standards is like, I think it's a good strategy to have. I think women should have high standards, but they also need to have an understanding of where they stand in the sexual marketplace and like what kind of guy they're really looking for. So if she's just looking for kind of like an affable, dude who could be nice and kind to her and sweet and that sort of thing, she might be able to find him this way. If she's looking for a guy who really, turns her on and inspires her and like makes her want to, oh my goodness, I want this guy so bad, I definitely don't think she's going to find that employing this strategy. That's my take on it based upon what I understand of sexual dynamics. But I wish her all the best. I hope she does find someone like this. Hopefully there's some dude out there who's perfect for her, who writes an SAT perfect score essay to unlock her heart. But my hopes are not too high for it at this point.
it apparently started off as a joke, but she realized quickly that guys were actually doing it. Does that surprise you at all? That guys are actually going through the effort of doing that?
No, because guys are really trying. Like, guys love that idea. It's like, you're going to tell me exactly what to do to win you over? Oh, that makes it easy. And it's like so many guys, especially if they don't understand the dating world, they don't understand sexual marketplace, they don't understand this stuff, then that just gives them a lot of clarity. It gives them a task to accomplish, which I think aligns very much with the male brain. And so he's like, okay, I'm going to do this task and I'm going to win the day. Sweep her off her feet with my words. So, it doesn't surprise me, but again, I would just wonder at the quality of guys who are writing.
That'd be interesting to find out.
What about you, Pete? Would you do that?
No.
I know I certainly wouldn't. So, I mean, either I don't know if we're high or low quality dudes. I think obviously very highly of us, but so we would not be in her dating pool. That's for sure.
Maybe she knows that guys like us wouldn't. So maybe that's what she wouldn't like guys like us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. And then in that case, I think it's going to work out wonderfully for her.
Well, that's good. I'm happy for her. All right. The next thing I wanted to show you here is this article from the Post Millennial, and the title reads, Trans-identified female MMA fighter accepts challenge to fight male UFC champion. And so apparently Jake Fields, a former UFC fighter, challenged
Jake Shields, not
Shields, yeah. He issued a challenge to transgender athletes and said, hey, I will fight the top 10 toughest trans men in the ring back to back with no training camp and no rest in between. And Mac Beggs, a trans-identified female, has accepted the offer. Beggs accepted the offer in a now deleted Instagram post is what the article now reads. So I guess the original post of this transgender athlete accepting the challenge has been deleted. And so I don't know if that means we're going to see it or not, but what do you think? Do you think this is going to happen eventually, if not now?
No, I don't think any of them are going to do it because they're going to get their ass kicked most likely. Now, it's totally possible for, trans men. No, probably not for a trans man. I was going to say for a trans female. That
obviously,
there are certain trans females who
right.
could give. I'm sure that theoretically could give Jake Shields a run for his money. But in terms of trans men, no. And I don't really like this personally because at the end of the day, he'd just be fighting, biological females, which I think is just absurd. I'm against that kind of on all levels, regardless of what they say. I'm as against it for the trans men to be fighting, or the trans females to be fighting actual females. That I think is messed up. It shouldn't be happening. It's just dangerous. And so I think, in his case, it's more of a bit of attention seeking, maybe making a statement and that sort of thing. But it's what I would love to see more is like him challenge the trans females. Be like, hey, I'll take you guys on. That's what I want to see.
Mark, that's not fair.
Because they're women?
Yeah.
I can't fight. That's not what makes it not fair. That's not how it works. So, okay. I don't think this one deserves too much more attention. Anyway, let's move on to the next one.
Yeah, so the next one I got here is a question from a guy in the club who says...
Wait, are we skipping the Rollo one?
Oh, did I skip it?
Yeah.
Oh, I totally missed that one. Yeah, let's hit that real quick. So this is Rollo's take on how to become a high-value man quickly. So number 1 is do not get married. Number 2, avoid family creation. Number 3, vasectomy in your 20s. Number 4, lift consistently. Number 5, eliminate all sedations. Number 6, learn game and networking. Number 7, play to your strengths, build wealth. And number 8, resist easing up on your focus. So he got quite a lot of heat for this, and I wanted to get your thoughts on it.
Oh, man. So if your sole goal is to maximize your, let's say if your top goals are to maximize how much money you make, and how many women you sleep with, and how many and maybe just your total like personal freedom, okay, this is the way to do it. All right, because getting married, okay, that takes away some freedom. Puts you in a arguably vulnerable position financially. She could leave you. She could take your money. When you have family creation, well, then you could, if there is a divorce, you'd have to pay child support. And even if you don't get divorced, you have to support those kids. Okay. And so obviously vasectomy is the way to avoid the family stuff. And then, you get in shape, and then it's just asceticism and focus and game. And then it's just like the productivity and improvement stuff. And yeah, so it'll get you what I said. It'll get you money. You could probably learn how to attract women and bang them. And yeah, so if that's what you want, this is, rationally speaking, and which makes sense because he is the rational male. That's the way to go. But my counterpoint to this would be like, okay, what if we're not just looking at value in terms of money made, personal freedom, and, what was the other one? Money made, personal freedom, and amount of people you sleep with. Okay. Let's say that's not all that there is to it. So for example, I've got my daughter, she's 4 years old. And in terms of high value, there's no one in her life, and there's no man in her life that has higher value to her. Like, she's obsessed with me. She loves me. It's like every single morning she wants me to come in and snuggle with her, and we talk. And same thing every night. We spend a lot of time together. She wants her daddy time, and if she doesn't get it, she gets really mad. She's like, it's the sweetest thing in the world. It's the most meaningful thing I've ever experienced. Like, we've got an incredible bond, and I wouldn't trade that for a single fucking thing. Okay, I wouldn't trade that for all the money in the world. And so, when we're talking about like value, to me, like, I would put that above anything else I've ever touched or tasted, And so you just got to be real about what you want. Like, what's really important to you? Is meaning most important to you? Well, meaning is gained through some level of sacrifice. It's gained through some level of, purpose, of responsibility. It's, meaning is not something that you can acquire without risk. All right. And meaning is almost always tied to love, at the highest levels. And love that puts you in a vulnerable state, because when you choose to love someone, basically you're choosing to let that person hurt you. Because if you love someone, that means you're opening your heart up to them, and they're going to sometimes, stick a knife in there. Sometimes they're going to do things that makes it hurt. And so, yeah, you can cut all that off. You can just go after the things that give you a dopamine hit, that give you a serotonin boost because your status goes up. But you're going to be missing out on the gooey center of life, where all the good stuff is. You're going to be missing out on the love, on the meaning, on the fulfillment, on the connection, on the ability to come to know someone and care for someone on such a deep level that you would die for them. Okay. And so, this is the thought out there. And guys are gobbling this stuff up because it sounds easier than going the hard route, especially if you've been trying to go the relationship route and you've been getting burned, or you've gotten burned. Maybe you've gotten divorced. Maybe you had a wife screw you over. Maybe, there's a bunch of things that can happen. And guys, like that, all that pain, they just want to cut it off, close it up, never go down that route again. And I can understand it. I'm not judging them for it, but I can't help but think it's the wrong move. And I like Lauren, who is it? Lauren Chen here. Like, some of the comments are funny. He says, your bloodline is weak and ends with you, which is kind of my point. It's like, well, yeah, I mean, if you don't reproduce, then you are not succeeding. And he said something like, what did he say to this? It was, legacy is 20th century thinking. Zuby says he's been married for decades, which I knew he was married. I didn't know he had children, which is strange to me. Does he have kids? I
have no idea.
And it's like, if he has kids and he's saying this, I wonder if he's just like, does he not love his kids? One, okay, or like not value fatherhood, or is he really just like playing a grift that he knows he can play and make money off of? because maybe he sees it as, all right, I'm going to tell these people this bullshit so that I'm going to keep living with a wife and kids because it makes me money. Because when I say the other stuff, it doesn't make me as much money. I don't know, because it's off brand. You know, he's got a brand here, guys. Look at him. Look at this brand he's got. Oh, look at that hat. Oh, little devil horns and angel feathers. Man, what a brand. So
he also tweeted at Lauren. He said, you know, after he said legacy is 20th century thinking, he goes, here's my legacy puddin'. And he puts a picture of his book.
Okay.
It's like, yeah. So if he has kids, that's not his legacy. He doesn't care about that. No, it's the rational male. That's where his significance is, apparently.
Yeah, it's so I don't know, man. What do you think of this?
I think it's ridiculous. Now, people were calling vasectomies transgender surgeries in response to this, so he was getting a lot of heat for it. I think you can undo them.
Oh wait, one second here. I'm looking to see. Someone commented just on that previous one. It's like, if people want to conflate quickest with best, that's on them. So maybe this is a troll. Maybe he's like, I can't tell, because it also seems in alignment with a lot of what he says. But
I don't think it's a troll.
No. Zuby might just be playing defense for him for some reason. Anyway, go on.
But anyway, you know, I think it was Sneeko. So this YouTuber Sneeko, I believe, was on the Fresh and Fit podcast, and he was talking about how in all areas of your life, you're supposed to have discipline, right? You're supposed to be super disciplined with your work. You're supposed to be disciplined with, improving yourself and all this stuff. And then he makes the point, why are we saying that discipline's good in all these areas of our life, but not good when it comes to your sexuality? And it was interesting to hear him say that, because I didn't think he would be the kind of guy to voice an opinion like that. But
Sneeko, interesting. So I saw this one thing where he was having internet drama with this other guy, Penguins Zero or something, I think. Anyway, yeah. Like, I was just following that, and I heard about Sneeko first from, have you ever watched Meat Canyon cartoons?
Yeah.
Okay. So have you seen the one with Andrew Tate?
I think so.
Where he's like he has like all right, first of all, Meat Canyon's cartoons are very disturbing.
Yes.
They're very weird. But sometimes they're interesting. And he's got one on Andrew Tate, which is kind of hilarious. And I know Sneeko is one of the guys in there who are like one of the Andrew Tate sycophants. So, and then anyway, he started beef with this other guy, and I do know that he has he's experienced the dark side of not having sexual self-control, I guess, because he's admitted to like cucking his girlfriend and that sort of thing. So maybe he's having a bit of a turnaround in terms of how he sees sexuality. But he is right in saying that we do need to develop sexual self-mastery. That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And along those lines, I actually have a question from a guy in the club who says, question, I've been on a good streak, but I always run into this feeling that makes me want to relapse. I start to feel or connect with people/surroundings on a deeper level. I guess my presence increases and I can pick up on more energy. It sounds woo-woo, but it always happens on a streak. My question is this normal? Has anyone experienced this before?
So there's a bunch of things that happen when you stop using porn, especially for an extended period. And one of the biggest things is that things that were previously kind of repressed or numbed start to rise to the surface. And so this can be triggering for guys, especially if they don't know how to handle all the feelings and sensations and shit like that starts to come up. So I've definitely heard of this before. And I think for a lot of guys who are naturally, maybe more emotionally sensitive, porn is a way to numb that out, because when that's there, all of a sudden the world becomes more complicated. Because when you're using porn, the world's pretty simple. It's like, oh, if I'm too uncomfortable, I can just press this emotion obliteration button known as porn, and I can kind of it goes away, and then I can just like get back to solving the things and addressing the things that are comfortable to me. But when you take that off the table, all of a sudden you got all this stuff coming up. And so, maybe it could be things like status insecurity. You're worried about what other people think about you. You're worried about how you stand in the world, how people perceive you, and around other people. When you get around other people, then that comes up and it becomes uncomfortable. Maybe it's just that you become more empathetic. You're able to actually see the pain and the suffering and the challenges that other people are experiencing, and you care. And you feel that care, and you don't know what to do about it, and it stresses you out because you're like, oh shit, it's not just my pain. I also am feeling the pain of the other people around me. I need to get out of this. And so learning how to probably the first thing is to if this happens to you, you need to break it down. You need to try and figure out what are these feelings I'm trying to escape from? Is it insecurity? Is it compassion? Is it uncertainty? Is it, it could be any number of negative emotions. And so just once you start breaking it down, you figure out what it is, then you can start asking yourself questions about, well, what do I want to do about it? How can I hold this differently? How can I navigate the world with this sensitivity present? How can I grow stronger so that it's not so painful for me? But until you do that, there's not really much you can do. So it's if all you do is try and quit porn, but then you don't want to do any other inner work, then you're either going to find another escape or you're going to relapse. So quitting porn is not just, this binary thing where it's you cut out this action and then everything's better. It's no, it's you cut out this action and then you have to process and integrate that change into your life, into your psyche, into the way that you interact with other people, the way you process your own emotions, all this kind of stuff. But if you're willing to do that, the payoff is absolutely massive.
Awesome. All right, the next thing I wanted to show you is a little clip from Freedom Tunes called Every Dating Podcast Ever.
I spent my most valuable years allowing my body to be used because no one ever taught me what love is or how to respect myself. And all you can do is make fun of me for it.
Yo, stupid. Oh, God. Stupid. The stupidest of the this stupid is so stupid.
Sad but true. Okay. So you were giving me a little bit of the anthology of these shows. I've never actually really watched them, but I know who was it? It was Fresh and Fit. They were the first big show, and they would just get a bunch of OnlyFans models around, and then they would just basically berate them and make fun of them and try and hit them with questions they can't answer or try and make them look stupid. Is that pretty much the gist of those shows?
I would say so, yeah.
Okay. And so then it's become kind of a thing now. There's multiples of these shows, right?
Right. And the most prominent one right now is the Whatever podcast. But before that, you had Just Pearly Things do something kind of similar where she would sit down with a bunch of women and guys, and then she would talk about dating issues and stuff like that. And now it seems like there's some coming out that I haven't even heard of, but I've seen clips of them. And so it seems to be a whole genre of podcast now.
Yeah. So it's basically just it's like our generation's version of Murray and the Jerry Springer show a little bit. They're it's just using the actual just insanity of modern culture rather than having to look for these freak outlier sort of scenarios. What is kind of there's a couple things that are kind of weird and cringy about this. One is yes, all the guys pile on and they love this. They love watching this stuff because then they can call these girls stupid and judge them and be oh yeah, you're hot, but man, you're dumb. And I think for a lot of guys it's this vindication sort of thing where it's some level of them wants to be with a girl that looks like that person, but then they can't, and so it makes it easier for them to not be with that person if they can just write them off as some stupid hoe. Okay, and so I don't know if all of the guys do this, but this is definitely a dynamic I think is at play here. But what I would love to see, and this is gonna have to come at some point, where they get a female dating show and they get average dudes on there. And they get the average dudes to talk about what they do with porn. And it's oh, you watch that much porn? oh, you jerk off like 3 times a day? Oh, 10 times a day? It's just like, it goes through this and it's like, oh wait, how many hours a week have you played video games? Like, wait, hold on. Let's look up your Call of Duty account. Wait, how many 45 days worth of time spent in the past, like, year. It's like, yeah, guys are stupid too. All right, they're doing stupid things as well, and we're just not being as exposed to it. And it's just silly because I think these shows are displaying like a lopsided view of society for the sake of making content for a particular demographic, which I guess you could say most of internet entertainment like is comprised of this. But do I think it's a good thing? No. Do I think it's a thing that you should be letting yourself indulge in? Probably not, because it's not going to be feeding you with the kind of energy and enthusiasm for the world that would probably let you get the most out of it. Instead, it's going to just make you bitter and more judgmental, and likely lead to some views on women that don't necessarily serve you. Yeah, are these women making bad decisions by being OnlyFans models? Yes. Are they making bad decisions by just like being promiscuous and spending their 20s hooking up with a bunch of dudes? Yes. But like, they're a product of their culture, as and there should be some level of compassion and understanding for them, because it's a path that's laid out and it's easy for them, and yada yada. They got duped. Okay, well, chances are you've gotten duped, or if you haven't, your peers have. And so just to sit there and judge and hate and make entertainment out of it, personally, I don't find that a good use of time and energy. But I'm not going to stop anyone from doing it. So,
I think the reason I don't like these podcasts is because they make it seem like this is the average woman, in a sense. It's like a commentary on women in general when they sit down with a bunch of OnlyFans models. Now, I know what a lot of guys would say that, oh, that is most women nowadays. I think a lot of people would think that, especially if they watch these podcasts. And maybe it's just because the culture that I grew up in, the culture that I like to associate with is kind of square. But I don't find that to be the case. I think if you stay maybe if you go outside of Miami or LA or Montreal, New York, like the really dense party cities, yeah, maybe that is the average woman. I don't know. But if you go outside in the real world, outside of those major metropolitan areas, I'm not sure that you would find that to be the case. Maybe I'm wrong. What do you think? Is this a good representation of the average woman?
Not the woman I know, personally. So, I mean, I to be honest, I don't spend a lot of time interacting with women because I'm married. I've got one. I got the one that I want. I don't need a lot of female friends or anything like that. But like, of the ones that I know, none of them are like this. None of them have OnlyFans accounts to my knowledge, and they would never want to. They have a little bit higher sense of self than that. So, I mean, the thing we always got to watch for with the internet is like, what kind of filter are you reinforcing on your reality? Right. And if you're just reinforcing this filter of like, wherever I see an attractive woman, she's just like a dumb OnlyFans thought, well, that's not going to necessarily work for you, especially if you come across an attractive woman, right? Like, it's going to set some preconceived notions. You're going to be guarded in a way that might not be beneficial, and all that kind of stuff. I'm not saying don't be guarded at all, because there's definitely some damaged ladies out there, 100%. Dating market is not one that I would say is saturated with high quality women, but they're certainly out there, and you only need one of them, I think, at least in my worldview. So,
there you go. That. All right, the last thing I wanted to show you today is it's kind of hard to find one clip that summarized Brian Johnson from Blueprint, but this is his diet, and I guess I can explain more about his whole project after we watch this.
All right, let's see.
I've been spending millions of dollars trying to create the perfect diet. What I did is I asked all my organs of the body, hey heart, liver, and kidney, what do you need to be your best self? We looked at scientific evidence, and this is the result. A diet exactly mapped to produce 50 perfect biomarkers. My speed of aging is currently slower than the average 10-year-old. So let me show you what I do on a daily basis. When I wake up in the morning, I drink the Green Giant. Collagen peptides, cinnamon, spermidine via chlorella powder, amino acids, 57 pills. I then work out for 1 hour. I come back Back inside, I have Super Veggie, which is a few pounds of broccoli, cauliflower, mushrooms, black lentils, ginger, and garlic, extra virgin olive oil of a very special type, and 100% dark chocolate, which is bitter, and I pair this with the vegetables. 1 hour later, nutty pudding, which is macadamia nuts, walnuts, flax seeds, berries, sunflower lecithin, pea protein, an additional roughly 40 pills. I'll have a third meal of the day, which includes vegetables, berries, and nuts, and some more olive oil. Altogether is 2,000 calories. I've been spending millions of dollars.
Interesting. He doesn't look unhealthy. He doesn't look like radiantly healthy, in my opinion. He looks like a vegan, frankly.
He's at 5% body fat, so that's why.
Okay. All right. I didn't see any red meat on there, so I'm automatically out.
And I'm out. And for that reason, I'm out.
For that reason, I will not be doing this diet. So what's his deal? He just like wants to completely like biohack and become like a superhuman or whatever.
Craziest biohacker I've ever seen. He's got all this industrial grade, medical grade equipment that he tests his body with frequently to have all these biomarkers. He's considered the most measured man in the world. And apparently this project of his seems like a bit of a passion project because he was in the tech industry and he sold his tech company for something like $500 million.
Okay.
And so now this is what his next project is Blueprint, trying to slow down the rate of aging as much as possible.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's cool. I mean, he's got a passion. He's going after it. So, I mean, and he's got the money for it. Yep. So that's neat. I think that's awesome that people are trying to figure this stuff out. I do think that, like, there's a difference here between him then and the average person. And the problem is that the average person is trying to become like this. Like, basically, it's like you could take any extremely focused like professional in the physical domain, like, you know, like a serious athlete or a bodybuilder or something like that. And you could check out, you know, here's their meal plan, here's their supplement regimen, here's how they, you know, often they get their blood work, here's their blood work scores, here are the hormones they're on, and all this kind of shit, right? And that's all interesting, you know, people can do what they want, but I think the thing is, like, the average person starts to get sucked into this. And they start to go down this route of like extreme health optimization, and it can consume you. And you might not necessarily have the millions to support a habit like this. You might not have even the lifestyle to be able to engage in, you know, this kind of thing. Like, I see this with guys all the time, especially more when I was younger. But like, you know, a guy gets into lifting and then he just becomes obsessed with it, and it's like all he does, he just puts all his money into supplements, into constantly like counting every calorie, that sort of thing. And if it's just a hobby, fine. But hobbies, they cannot detract from your main mission in life. And I think what ends up happening is that some people, they end up making their hobby their main thing, and they let their hobby steal too much of their energy. And then because of that, like, let's say someone did do what this guy was doing. You know, they did, well, maybe not spend millions of dollars on equipment, but they go super ham on this, you know, put all their energy into preventing aging and that sort of shit. But they don't actually have like a life to live. Well, then who cares? They're just going to be living and feeling fine, but not really enjoying their life. They're still not going to have meaning. They're still not going to have a sense of purpose. Right. And so this is the thing. It's like, you can't, Dan John's got a great quote. It's like, don't major in the minors. And I don't even know if that's his quote, but like, that's something I've heard him say a lot of times. It's like health, fitness, all that kind of stuff. It's important. It really matters. And you need to get it to a certain level. You know, you need to 80-20 it, and you can 80-20 it pretty easily. Okay. You can get 80% of the benefits of like this, you know, health optimization stuff with just, you know, a moderate amount of consistent effort with keeping a relatively clean diet and exercising. Boom. There you go. You're 80-20ing it. But then every ounce of energy you put into it after that, it's going to offer diminishing returns. And you got to ask yourself, it's like, is my life is this really a favorable trade of energy in terms of overall quality of life for me? Is me putting, you know, several more hours per week of research into this health stuff actually producing as much as if I put those several hours into building my career, or if I put those several hours into building my relationships, right? So with all this kind of stuff, it's just keeping it in perspective of like what is really the most important thing for you, what is really the stuff that's going to bring you the most satisfaction, because it's easy to get lost in this stuff, and it's not just with health and fitness, it's anything, because the internet just offers these unlimited avenues of like dopamine expansion, right? Like, I was saying last week, it's like I was buying a keyboard because I had my old keyboard broke, and I went down the rabbit hole of mechanical keyboards, and like, holy shit, like I was like into it for a little bit. I was like, man, this is too much. I got my keyboard. I'm done with this. It's like, I don't need to keep sinking dopamine into it. And it can happen. Like, as I said, I was getting back into music and stuff. Same thing can happen there. It's like I could spend hours and hours just like researching synthesizers and equipment and setup stuff and, different kinds of audio engineering techniques and that kind of thing. Not to mention hours and hours spent playing the instruments themselves. And so it's like, you always got to maintain that high level perspective of like, where should my time go? And if you don't start from there, then you're going to get yourself lopsided. And so it's like, you got to figure out, what are the big things I really want in my life? What are the big things that are really going to bring me the most fulfillment? And then from there, you create a plan. And you can get it all, I think. I think you can get health. I think you can get wealth. I think you can get relationships. But you're probably not going to be able to get all of them all at once at maximum speed. Sometimes you have to intentionally go slower with certain areas of your life so that you can go faster in others. That's just the way it works. It's something I have to deal with all the time with guys when they're coming to me to try and quit porn. It's like, hey, you can quit porn, you can do all this other stuff too, but we got to focus on this thing first. That means some of this other stuff is going to have to sit on the back burner right now. And that's fine. Just let it sit there. You don't need to be beating yourself up. You don't need to be there yesterday. You have a life in front of you, God willing. So we just want to make sure that we can use it all and really enjoy the adventure of it. So much of the journey of life is like figuring this stuff out. It's like there's so much pressure on guys, which makes this hard. There's so much pressure on guys, especially if you're looking for a relationship, or if you're looking to, reach that next level so you can better support your family or live a better life or whatever. There's so much pressure to just like be at that next level now. But like, you can just enjoy the process of getting there. It doesn't need to be forced. And what I found is that when you stop forcing it and you start like really playing your life in a way that balances like the destination, it's like you're working toward the destination, but you're choosing a path that you actually want to journey on. That seems to lead to the best results, because you're not going to be constantly trying to escape. You're not going to be having these breakdowns. You're not going to be having these, insane changes of direction or anything like that ultimately end up really compromising the speed of your progress. So yeah, this stuff is cool. It's awesome. Maybe this guy's got some really great things to say. I'm still very, skeptical of the fact that he's missing red meat, but what do I know? I'm no nutritionist. I just know that I feel better on red meat.
And well, that's all I got for this week. So is there anything else you wanted to let the guys know about?
So I am going to be, I don't know if it'll be hopefully it'll be some of it within the next couple of weeks. By the time this is out, I'm going to probably start opening the doors to a pilot program for a brand new thing that I'm doing. It's focused specifically on high performance, tapping into a new level of operation using a new methodology that I found in all my years of helping guys quit porn. But it doesn't actually have anything to do with porn. Some of the coolest stuff that I've discovered helping guys solve this fundamentally unique problem is stuff that I've kind of had to sit on because I've been so focused on professionally helping guys quit porn. And so it's like, guy pays you to quit porn. That's what you got to spend your time and energy talking about. But I've got some really, really cool stuff that I'm very excited to share with you guys. So if you're not on the mailing list, then make sure you get on the mailing list, because that's where I'm going to be sending more info out about all of this stuff. So if you're interested at all in any of that, then make sure you click the link below. And we should have a link below. We'll have some kind of link below where you can get on the mailing list. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I think that's all. Anything else, Pete, we need?
I think that's it.
All right. Well, good show, my friends. Ooh-yah. See you on the next one. Peace.